so please be aware, okay? Especially inside the old city. It's a holy city, but it is also a daily life city, so it has all the phenomena that on other places. And on the top of the ridge of Mount of Olives, there are three monumental towers. The very first one we've already seen, it's the Hebrew University. Another one is over here, Augusta Victoria. And the righty one is the Russian Ascension Church. And we are going to see these towers from all over, from Jerusalem itself and also from the Judean desert. Because this is the watershed of the area. Going to leave the bus for a few minutes. This is the northern peak of Mount of Olive Ridge. From here you can see one of the three monumental towers. I'm going to mention them a lot today. This is the tower of the Hebrew University. The other two are blocked by the trees right now, but we are going to see them. Before we are going to talk about the Old City Monument, these names that you can see, and you can see them all around the campus, is the donators for the Hebrew University. We are overlooking westwards towards the Old City. First of all, maybe the most monumental is the Golden Dome. The Golden Dome, called also the Dome of the Rock. And the Dome of the Rock, according to the tradition, Abraham took Isaac to sacrifice for God, Rock of Foundation. King Solomon built the first temple above the Rock of Foundation, and Herod the Great, 1,000 years after King Solomon, rebuilt the second temple, created an artificial plaza, and called it the Temple Mount. In the center of the Temple Mount used to stand the temple, but this temple was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD, and since the 7th century, the Temple Mount is a residence for two very important mosques. The Golden Dome, called Haram Sharif, and a little bit to the left you can see another dome. From here it looks black. This is Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa in Arabic, it's the edge. And you know that in the Bible of the Quran, the Holy Bible of the Muslim, Jerusalem is not mentioned. But what does mention is the night journey of Muhammad from Mecca to Al-Aqsa, to the edge. Muslim interpreters relate Jerusalem with Al-Aqsa. That's why Jerusalem is so holy also for the Muslim. And as I told you in the bus, today it's the very first Friday. Friday is the traditional day of the week that the Muslim needs to gather at the mosque. And many of them coming to the Temple Mount. We are going to visit the Muslim quarter, and we will see this special ambience. What else? On the right side of the old city there are two domes, grey domes. Do you see them? These two grey domes. This is the Holy Sepulchre Church. According to most of the Christians, all of the Christians except for the Protestants, believe that this is the place of the crucifixion of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus. 5 of the last stations of the cross of the Via Dolorosa are located there inside this complex. We are going to visit there. Okay? What else? There is a white dome a little bit behind to the Golden Dome. Do you see it? This is the biggest synagogue of the Jewish quarter, called the Run Synagogue. And a little bit to the left from this synagogue and behind, there is an a tower, and next to it there is a construction that the top of it looks like a pyramid, looks like a great pyramid, great cone. Do you see? This is the Domitian Church, located on the top of Mount Zion, and Domitian in Latin is to fall asleep, following the Catholic tradition about Saint Mary, that she fell asleep, and afterwards, 3 days afterwards, she was sent to heaven. So there is a German Catholic church called the Domitian Church. We can also see from here the eastern part of the walls. You know that Jerusalem was surrounded by walls, at least according to the Bible, even when King David captured the city 3,000 years ago. But the current walls were built by the Turkish, by the Ottoman Empire in 1539, a little bit more than 500 years ago. Maybe less than 500 years ago. Okay, so if you have any questions...
Augusta Victoria. Augusta Victoria was the wife of the German Caesar, Wilhelm II, who visited in Jerusalem in 1898. And the Germans were the great protector of the Turkish Empire, especially towards its end. And they were given, the Kaiser was given 2 plots by the Turkish. One of them he gave to the Lutheran order, to the German Protestant, where they built this complex compound, Augusta Victoria. It's a hospital and church and also orphanage. I wonder what's this black flag. Because it's new over here, never mind. And the second plot was given to the Catholic German, the Benedictine order, where they built the Church of Dormition on Mount Zion. On the left side you can see the third monumental tower of the Ridge, which is the Russian Ascension Church. Like many other events, there are several places. This is the Russian one, the Pravoslav one. The Catholic is also a place, and also the Protestant. Today, Mount of Olives is a resident for the Arab neighborhoods called Atur. Atur in Arabic is the mountain. After the name of Mount of Olives. The tentative measures that are changing the traffic over here. And on the right side of the Hebrew University campus, you can see a construction with many arches. This is the center of the Mormon community, the Mormons coming from Utah, from Salt Lake City. These constructions, these arches. That coming to Al-Aqsa, to the Temple Mount, are allowed to pass with the buses. Buses from the West Bank or buses from Israel itself. And we are trying to negotiate with the policemen, but you know that policemen has very tough minds everywhere. She told us, you can drop them here in the middle of the neighborhood. Traffic arrangements. So it's not the only way, not at all, and usually we don't come through this neighborhood. I prefer to come in front of Mount of Olives, where I can explain you about the churches. So let's see. It's the holiday of the Muslims. While all week long they can pray individually, on Friday that they must go and gather at the mosque. And since Ramadan is very holy, and Jerusalem is in the middle of a big political dispute or discussion. In the last few years, during Friday of Ramadan, maybe 500,000 people coming every Friday, and many times, unfortunately, especially last summer, the operation with Gaza Strip, it was a very times, because afterwards the mosque, and sometimes there are clashes with the security forces. And as you probably know, America was discovered in 1492. It means that the map is after 1492. And this is a German map from the 16th century. You can see Jerusalem as the hub of the world between the three big continents of the ancient world, Europe, Asia and Africa. You can also see England and Greenland, but Australia hasn't discovered yet. So divided between Jordan and Israel. In general, all the left side of the road used to be Jordanian, with a few exceptions, but and all the right side, the western part, used to be Israeli. In 1967, after three armies attacked Israel, including the Jordanian army. Jordan lost the eastern part of the city and also the West Bank. So the city, it depends on your narrative, occupied or reunited, but the fact is that today, after 19 years, the city is united again, and this time under Israeli sovereignty. When you hear the phrase West Bank, it has two meanings. The geographical meaning means the west bank of the Jordan River, and the political meaning is all the area that used to be Jordanian between 1948 and 1967. Probably from Jerusalem itself, because those who don't live in Jerusalem comes with buses. They are the only buses that can or enable to pass all this checkpoint of the police. So very shortly we are going to leave the
Also the windmill that I told you about. And over there you can see also a tree and a pomegranate tree. And there you see this construction with the green windows. This is considered to be the most luxury hotel of the city. Every single US president visited Israel, stayed there. But it wasn't good enough for Madonna after one night. Okay, let's go inside.
That's classic.
The name of the interior first, was Suleiman. Part of the Temple Mount, it has 4 different quarters and 8 different gates, the current old city. We are standing now at the western side toward Jaffa, toward the old city of Jaffa. That's why it's called Jaffa Gate. Okay? The 4 quarters are, the biggest one is the Muslim quarter, then the Christian quarter, the Jewish quarter, and the smallest one is the Armenian quarter. The Armenian are first of all, the very first people to convert it into Christianity as a collective 100 years before the Roman did so. And they are coming from the Caucasus Mountains, between Russia and Turkey, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Okay? British, then it was Jordanian, today it's Israeli, so the people is changing, but the construction and the function are permanent. I said that this is the police station at the old city. Originally it was Turkish, and then British, Jordanian, today Israeli. Called the Kishlafer, ceramic handcraft, like this. Still in the Armenian quarter, St. James is the patron of England, by the way, and according to the tradition, no, here, yeah? Look at the sign. אתם עוברים אותנו עכשיו?
ומה חשבת?
טוב, אוקיי.
מה, אנחנו פריירים? אנחנו רואים את ה-CD opportunity and use it.
So, and according to the tradition, St. James is buried here in the Armenian quarter. Let's continue, please. You ask me, are people still live here? Very much so. Actually, the Jewish quarter considered to be these days a very wealthy quarter, because many religious ultra-Orthodox would like to live here, because it's right next to the old city, to the Wailing Wall. And as you can see, since the Jewish quarter, most of the buildings here were destroyed by the Jordanian in 1948, and it was captured and was occupied. Most of the houses here are brand new, especially compared to the other quarters that we are going to visit later. And in the meantime, you probably have heard the word cardiology, right? Yes. So this word cardiology is driven from the Roman word cardo. Cardo used to be the heart of the town in every Roman polis. And the Roman, after destroying the temple and the city, they rebuilt the city and converted it into a paganic city. And they also built a cardo. Cardo used to be the main street that used to cross every standard police, Roman or Hellenistic, from the northern edge to the southern edge. Even here in Jerusalem, there was a cardo. Because of the sensitivity, we can't excavate all over, but here in the Jewish quarter, they excavated and revealed part of the cardo. The pillars that you can see there are originally from 1500 years ago. What we are going to do now is to go downstairs and walk a little bit along the Roman cardo, okay? Quarter is the street used to be many stores. You can see this part was restored, but this is how it looked like with arches. And it used to cross the city from south to north. Now we are going to walk a little bit along the Roman cardo, as well as the pillars themselves from the 5th century. 1500 years old. We are standing in front of a replica of a mosaic, very famous mosaic called Mikva, because this is the name of the city that this mosaic was discovered. Mikva is a city in the eastern shore of the Dead Sea inside Jordan. And in the 19th century, they reconstructed one of the churches over there, and they discovered a mosaic. And what's so special in this mosaic that it gives us a description of Jerusalem and all the area in general in the Byzantine period. When I'm saying Byzantine, and I'm going to mention many names and period and dates, I hope it's not too much, but the Roman Empire in the 4th century, the Emperor Constantine converted the Romans from Hellenism into Christianity. And from then on, they used to be called Byzantine. The Byzantine managed to hold in the Holy Land until the 7th century, where the Muslims came for the first time. But in places like Istanbul, they managed to hold until the 15th century. So during the Byzantine time, the Roman, Christian Roman, this map describes Jerusalem in this time. First of all, very interesting, like all the ancient map, the orientation of this map is towards east. This is also where Orient is driven from orientation. Only in the modern map, the top of the page is north. So this is east, west, south, and north. You can see the cardo from the southern edge to the northern edge cross the city. From both sides of the street, you can see the pillars, the columns that we just saw a few of them. And the center of the city in the Byzantine time was the Holy Sepulchre. Okay? In the Byzantine time, the Temple Mount was ruined until the Muslims came and built the mosque. And we are going to visit later the Holy Sepulchre, but it is not the same Holy Sepulchre, because the Byzantine Holy Sepulchre was much bigger and fancier, but unfortunately it was destroyed in the 10th century by the Muslim ruler Al-Hakim Deir Allah, and was rebuilt by the Crusaders in the 12th century. This is the complex that we are going to visit later in the day. In the Byzantine time, first of all, if you'd like to have a nice photo, please have a photo on the background of this paint wall, because it gives the illusion, the illusions of 3 dimension. And I have another question for you, maybe this time you'll do better. One of the person here is that belongs to the period of all the Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And it's symbolizes Jerusalem, the past, the present, and hopefully the future. So take a few minutes. 400 years of Islam rule. The Latin, the Western European, came to liberate the Holy Land. They had two purposes actually. One purpose is to help to their brothers in the east, the Byzantine in the east. But on their way to the Holy Land, they massacred their brothers in Istanbul, in Constantinople. And the second purpose was achieved. They managed to liberate Jerusalem for almost 150 years until Salah ad-Din, the Muslim conqueror, occupied the city for another hundreds of years of Islam rule. So this part of the Kaaba is from the Crusaders' time, and you can see modern shops uses the construction of 800 years ago. So these arches are originally. When I'm saying first temple days, I'm talking about days from the 12th century BC, where the people of Israel, all the story of Exodus and the conquest of the Promised Land, until the 6th century BC, where the Babylon deportation happened. This is the time of the first temple days, first temple that King Solomon built. And during this period, to be precise, in the 8th century BC, and it is mentioned in the Bible also, sorry. So, in the 8th century BC, and it is mentioned in the Bible, the Assyrian coming from Syria nowadays, put a siege, laid a siege on the kingdom of Judea and the kingdom of Israel. And King Hezekiah fortified the city in order to prepare the city against this siege. The city did manage to hold this siege, but captured 2,000 years after by the Babylon. All this story to show you, in the Bible it is called the broad wall or the wide wall. Here they excavated and revealed part of the wide wall. You see the excavated stone. Indicates us the boundary of the first temple day, from here to here. It means that if I'm standing here, I'm outside of the first temple days period city. If I'm standing over there, I'm already inside the city. Okay? Eve of Sabbath, and as I told you, most of the people here are ultra-Orthodox, so they are getting ready. And remember this dome from the overview? This is the synagogue. It's called the ruined synagogue because along its history, since it was first built in the 17th century, it was destroyed twice. Last time was in 1948 by the Jordanian, and just recently it was rebuilt. If you'd like to have a nice photo to catch in one frame, the cross over the Greek convent and the crescent, the minaret here and the synagogue, you can catch it in one frame, and for me it's very typical Jerusalem. From here we will go to the Wailing Wall. Usually on the way to the Wailing Wall there are lots of beggars. If you'd like to give donation, of course be my guest, but sometimes they are manipulated. They give you a bless and then you feel obligated. If you are not interested, just say thank you and keep going, okay? Ridge of Mount of Olives. This is the southern edge of the ridge. You can see the third monumental building. This is, we've already seen from the bus, this is the Russian Ascension Church. You can see the big cemetery, you know, according to the tradition, it's a Jewish tradition, but it was adopted by the Christian and by the Muslims also with small nuance. When the Messiah comes, he will come from Mount Olive, revive all those who buried on the slopes of Mount of Olives, straight to the, and he will go straight to the Temple Mount to build the third temple. Anyway, the Christian, of course, adopted this tradition with a small nuance. They already know who is the Messiah, Jesus Christ, of course. And the Muslim claim that once it's happened, the Messiah will emerge from 7 arches construction. That's why they built these 17 arches. It's functioned as an hotel on the top of the ridge. Do you see it? Go back to the Russian Ascension Church, to this tallest tower. A little bit beneath it, there is a church, looks like a teardrop. The base, the lower part of the church is white, in white color, and the top of the church is black, black or gray. This church called Dominus Flavit, it has the best overview on the old city. Dominus Flavit in Latin is when the Lord was cried. And according to the tradition, this is the place that Jesus sat in his last week and cried over the upcoming destruction of the temple. Do you see it? Now, yeah? Okay. Of course, this black, it's not black. Earlier it looks black. Now you can see that it's not totally black. This is Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa, the edge in Arabic. We will go downstairs a few more stairs to have a better overview, and then I will talk. Place on earth, and maybe now you'll get an answer why. Because look at the Wailing Wall. It's the Western Wall, and above it is the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount, since the 7th century, is held by the Replacers, and parallel to the prayer of the Jews, up on the mountain, there is the two very important mosques. So sometimes it's a good reason for problems, unfortunately. But before we are going to see the current Temple Mount, let's see what it used to be. The Temple Mount, I told you already, in the Bible it's mentioned Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah is the place that Abram took Isaac to sacrifice for God, and according to the tradition, the rock of foundation is there, where all the world began from. And King Solomon built the first temple on the rock of foundation on Mount Moriah. 1,000 years after, Herod the Great came. He's the one, by the way, that also built the fortress of Masada and the city of Caesarea on the Mediterranean shores. He erased the topography and created an artificial plaza. In the center of the plaza used to stand the temple, the Jewish temple. Today, from the 7th century, actually, above the rock of foundation, there is the Golden Dome. The Golden Dome in Arabic, they called it Haram al-Sharif. And on the southern edge of the Temple Mount, there is Al-Aqsa. So you can see both of them. Al-Aqsa is the edge in Arabic, third holiest place for the Muslims. And the Golden Dome is only in the center of the yard. The northern part of the yard is full of groups of olive trees, very, very impressive. Unfortunately, there are, there are 12 different gates to the Temple Mount. Only one of them is for non-Muslims. And unfortunately, non-Muslims can visit only the yard itself, not the mosque. Because inside the mosque, there is the rock of foundation. And it doesn't matter if you are Buddhist or Jewish or Christian, you can't go inside. In the background, you can hear the muezzin. Muezzin in Arabic is the one that calls the Muslim pilgrims to come and pray in the mosque. At 1:30, the major prayer will begin. Hopefully, we will be out of Jerusalem by then. But very soon we are going to walk inside the Muslim hotel and we will see all the streams of the pilgrims. But before, we are going to visit the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall. The Western Wall, the Herodian Western Wall, its length is almost 500 meters. Only small part of it is open for the public. That's why it's called the Wailing Wall, because this is the closest that Jews can get to the rock of foundation. Along the years, people coming over here to prayer, to request some requests from God. There is a custom that you can write down in a note some request and put it between the bricks. Since it's a religious place, there is a separation between men and women to go to the wall itself. Once we'll go downstairs, I will show you the entrance. And men should cover their head. If you don't have head, you can have kippah for free. Do you know what is kippah? It's this small cover. Women should go modest. It means with cover shoulders and something beneath the knees. I think everybody is fine. Maybe you. Even if you don't have scarf, they can give you for free. Okay? First we'll have a security check. We'll pass through an X-ray machine like at the airport. You need to put your bag inside the X-ray machine and on the side to put all your belongings from the pocket, okay, from the pocket, and then we'll go into the wailing. And wherever you see this kind of instrument, it's an indication that there is a mosque nearby. You know that the Muslims need to pray 5 times a day, the very first time before dawn, the last time after sunset, in between 3 more times. And every time they go to the mosque, they need to wash their foot and also their arms. So that's why there is a sabil over here. This particular sabil was built by the Turkish in the 16th century. Now, remember what I told you about, I have many friends over here in the Muslim quarter. Every second person will ask you to come and see his shop. I promise to give you, look at the sign above your head. It says Via Dolorosa in 3 different languages. Hebrew, Arabic and English, of course. Via Dolorosa, it's a Latin phrase, also a Latin tradition. And according to this tradition, we are talking about the Good Friday, of course, of Jesus. According to this tradition, Jesus had 14 stops or 14 stations from the very first one, which was the Antonia Fortress, where he was convicted by Pontius Pilatus, until the last one, which is the 14th station, the tomb itself of Jesus. Along the way, the tradition, the Catholic tradition that, by the way, was adopted also by the Orthodox, the Russians, it has 14 stations. We are joining the Via Dolorosa in the 5th station. You can tell by the Roman number. You know that back in Jesus' time, those were the numbers in use, and actually the Arabs are those who brought the modern numbers into Europe, but it happened 900 years after Jesus. And some of the stations are only tradition, some of the stations are mentioned in the Bible, like this one. In the 5th station, he met Simon from Cyrenia, who helped him to carry the cross. Cyrenia is a city that nowadays located in Libya, in the modern states of Libya, in northern Africa. And you can also see the Jerusalem cross. We are going to see this Jerusalem cross many times today. Every time you see this cross, the 5 crosses, it means that the place is held by the Franciscan order. It's a Catholic order. Most of the Catholic places in the Holy Land belongs to this order. They was given by the Pope, the mandate. The Jerusalem cross symbolized Jesus, and the 4 other crosses symbolize the 4 directions of heaven. And another explanation is the 4 superpower of the Crusaders. Here, according to the tradition, it's the imprint of Jesus' right hand once he laid on the wall. Prayer. Some of them carry also a carpet because they used to pray on their knees, so sometimes they are helping by these carpets. So it's written in Arabic, Al-Mahalta Sadisa, the 6th station, and here in the 6th station, Jesus met Veronica, who wept his face. And Veronica, actually it's a fusion, because Vera in Greek, it's the truth, and icon, iconica, it's image, so it's the image of the truth. This place is held by another fusion church, the Greek Catholic, because most of the Greek in the world belongs to the Israel, to the Orthodox churches. But the biggest Christian community in Israel and in the West Bank belongs to the Greek Catholic. We continue on the Birdal Road. Yeah. Are not mentioned in the Bible. It's only a tradition, and according to the tradition, Jesus fell 3 times because of the heaviness of the cross, because of the ascent, the heat of Passover day. We just had Passover 2 months ago, but it's the same climate. And so here there is a Franciscan chapel for the 7th station. We are now going to go in the street that buffer between the Muslim quarter and the Christian quarter that we are cross very shortly. Please note that most of the shops are closed because this is the Muslim quarter and they are going to prayer. In the Jewish quarter, and you can see lots of Muslims inside the Christian quarter. This is part of the complicity of this city. Simplicity, and on the other end the magic of this city. Lutheran Redeemer Church. Lutheran are the Protestant German. And we are going now to the Moristan. Moristan is the central yard of the Christian quarter. Very soon we are going to visit the Holy Sepulchre Church.
First of all, I would like to welcome you in our store. If anybody would like to use the toilets, we have clean toilets in the corner. If anybody care for cold drink.
Church. According to most of the Christians, this is the crucifixion site as well as the resurrection site, of course. The 5 last stations of the cross located here in this complex. And I'm saying complex because it is not a typical church. There is no one altar, but many chapels. The complex itself is held by 6 different churches. The Catholic, the Armenian, the Greek, and also 3 minorities, which is the Assyrian. You know, the Assyrian coming from one of the very first Christian community worldwide, coming from Syria and Iraq, and these days they are having a very difficult time. Also the Coptic coming from South Egypt, and the Ethiopian. And sometimes there are lots of conflict between them. They don't trust one each other, so they gave the key to the church into a Muslim family. It's a true story. You can Google or YouTube conflict in the Holy Sepulchre, and you can see many movies. The Protestant has an alternative site next to Damascus Gate, northern to the old city, and it's called the Garden of the Tomb. But traditionally, from the 4th century, this is the place of the crucifixion. 4th century, it's the century that Constantine the Emperor converted the religion of the Romans from paganism into Christianity. From then on, they used to be called Byzantium. And 2 years after, in 326, he sent his mother, Saint Helene, to identify the few places in the Holy Land that a significant event took place there, like the Nativity in Bethlehem, the Assumption on the top of Mount of Olives, and the Holy Sepulchre. But the very first church that was built here, one of the very first church worldwide, was destroyed in the 11th century by Hakim the Imar Allah. He was a Muslim ruler, and at 1149, 50 years after the Crusaders took over Jerusalem, they opened the current church. What we are going to do, we have in total here 40 minutes, even a little bit less. By 1:30, I would like all of you to be over here. Okay, please remember that we need to go also to the Dead Sea. Now, usually the queue to the tomb is very, very, very long. It's impossible to see it in 40 minutes, but those who would like to try, I can take them straight to the queue. Please know that you can waste all your time in the queue and won't see the tomb, but those who are lucky and see the tomb, it's basically a double room. The interior room, there is a stone in the center, and this is the tomb. The monks, the Armenian monks, lets every time to a group of 4 people to get inside for a few seconds. So in my opinion, I would like to show you a few spots in the church, and then I will set you free. Okay, it's a spiritual place. If you'd like to bless, to pray, whatever you'd like, it's your time. Okay, so please follow me. 1:30, please be here. Anybody wants to see the tomb? Okay.
You want to talk about
that you might spend all your time in the queue. Okay, so please. Yes.
You want to talk about the ladder?
Yeah, the ladder is part of the status quo. I just told you that this place is held by 6 different churches. And after the Crim War in 1857, a status quo agreement was signed between Russia, which is the patron of the Pravoslav, of the Orthodox, Britain, the patron of the Protestant, but the Protestant has left since then this place, and the French, the patron of the Catholics. And according to this status quo, what used to be before the war will still remains exactly the same. So this ladder is still standing from the 19th century, and you can't touch it. This is part of the status quo and the conflict that I told you about. Let's go inside. First, I will take those who would like to see the tomb. Please follow me. I would like to show you a few spots, and then... And again, because of the conflict between the streams, between the churches, it is close to the public. The tent station was decorated by Antonio Barluzzi. He's a very famous Italian architect that built several churches in the Holy Land. Gethsemane is one of them. And here, according to the tradition, Jesus, the dress were taken from Jesus' body before he was nailed to the cross. Okay? Please stay at the entrance. I'm just taking the guys to the tomb, and I'm coming back to... First of all, you can see after the moment of dying, Jesus' body was taken from the cross into this rock. This is rock of purification, because every Jew, and Jesus was Jewish, as you probably know, before the Jewish get buried, really let's or the Calvary, as it's mentioned in the Bible. In a few minutes I will take you to see the Golgotha, okay? The Golgotha, according to the Bible, was the same bedrock that Adam was buried beneath. And Jesus, crucified on, symbolized the closure between the very first sinner of the humanity and Jesus, who washed away all the sins of the humanity. And as I told you, Jesus was a Jewish, and the Jewish people, before they get buried, first of all, they must take all the clothes, all the tattoos, the piercing, everything, and before they get buried, the body must be purified. So, this is the story of the purification. And behind you can see the rock itself, according to the tradition, Jesus purified all. Okay? From there, he was taken to the tomb. What we are going to do, first of all, I will take you to see the Golgotha. Afterwards, do you see these stairs? If you are going upstairs, you are going to see 3 more stations of the cross, 11, 12, and 13. The 14 is the tomb itself. So let's go to see the Golgotha. She is waiting for us at the tourist information, so good news. Anyway, if you're going upstairs, as I told you, there are 3 stations of the cross. At the 11th station, Jesus was nailed to the cross. At the 12th station, which we are standing right beneath, he was This is the moment of dying. You are going to see right above us a sculpture of Jesus on the cross and a small opener that everybody standing in a queue. I don't know if today, because it's quite empty, just to see a glimpse of the Golgotha. So this is the same Golgotha without any queue. Okay? In between you are going to see a cupboard with a glass door and a sculpture of Mary. This is the 13th station where Jesus' body was handed to Mary after the moment of dying. Okay? This chapel called the Chapel of Adam, again, symbolized the closure. Adam was buried beneath the Golgotha. This is the bedrock according to the tradition, where Jesus crucified all. I would like to show you 2 more places here and then you are free. So if you would like, you can go afterwards upstairs to see 3 more stations of the cross. I would like and some burial tomb from Second Temple days, the days of Jesus. So the tomb of Jesus looks like this. Before, when we had the overview from Mount Scopus, I showed you 2 grey domes, right? This is the bigger one, right above the tomb. The other one is on the other side of the complex. The tomb itself is double room. The interior room is the tomb. Now, what we are going to see, it's only a stone that covered the tomb. Okay? But I would like to show you now burial tomb from Second Temple days. This is the method that the Jews used to be buried those days, sorry. And Jesus was buried there in the same method. So, let's go. Casillan, which is the poorest church out of all the 6, and they didn't have enough money to renew this chapel after the big burn that took place here in the 19th century. Inside, you can go inside, by the way. You are going to see a few niches on the wall. Those of you who would like to go afterwards can. In the meantime, I will explain. If you are going inside, mind your head. So, this is how the Jews used to be buried. First of all, in the first 11 months, they used to put all the bones in a niche on the wall, next to the wall. The length of the niche was according to the length of the longest bone of the body. And after 11 months, they used to take out the bones and put it in a hole with the other generation of the family. Okay, so if you want afterwards, you can go inside. Just be careful on your head. Now, unless you have any questions, or do you want me to come back with you to one of the spots, take your time, and we will meet each other within 25 minutes outside.
Ring down over there.
Like pictures in here?
Yeah.
And very soon we are going to understand why, because once we cross it through a tunnel, we will find ourselves in the middle of the desert. It's amazing. So, from right to left, or from on the top of it, the 7 arches following the Muslim tradition about the final day, that the Messiah will emerge from 7 arches. The Russian Ascension Church, Augusta Victoria, remember Augusta Victoria compound? And blocked by this church, the Redeemer, it's the Hebrew University campus on the top of Mount Scopus. So what we are going to do now is to drive through the northern part of the city, cross the ridge through the tunnel, straight to the Judean desert. If you have a look over there towards north, you can see the 2 domes of the Holy Sepulchre Church. And in front of them you can see the minaret. This minaret, of course, belongs to a mosque after the name of the very first Muslim convert of the region called Omar ibn Khattab. So it's Omar Mosque, is standing from the 7th century. Now what we are going to do, we are going to do towards this end, through Jaffa Gate, the same gate that we entered in the morning, to the car and then to the Dead Sea. So everybody paid?
Mexico and and Arizona and Nevada and the Sahara Desert, of course, Saudi Arabia, and in the southern end, the deserts of Australia in Kalahari and Namib. But some of the deserts are deserts because of the topography, like we have here. The Gobi Desert beyond the Himalaya, or the Patagonia Desert beyond the Andes. The same phenomena happens here. You know that most of the rain in Israel comes from the Mediterranean, from west to east. The more height they gain, the cloud, they started from the sea level, and then they are going to an altitude of almost 1,000 meters. They are getting colder and colder, and the water drop inside them getting thicker and thicker. But once they pass this ridge, this watershed, they are interact with warm air again, and all the water drops are evaporating. So that's why, if in Jerusalem the annual precipitation is something like 700 millimeters per year, here it's less than 150